Hey guys, welcome and welcome back. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for showing up. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Jane. Today we'll be talking about the relationship and sex education in the United Kingdom. If you've seen videos flying around social media, you may have come across some protests that happened in the UK where parents were against the fact that this should be taught in primary or secondary schools. Okay, so the Relationship and Sex Education and Health Education Regulation 2019 said that this should be taught to all schools in the United Kingdom, primary and secondary schools. Now in this video, I'm going to talk about what is contained in the guidance, what the schools should cover, why the government thinks that this is important for these things to be taught to the kids, and all that. It would just be a summary. A lot of us came into the UK after this was already initiated. I came into the UK in 2021 and this already was established in 2020 September. Okay, a lot of people have come into the UK since then, and some people don't even have the information around this. They don't know what this guidance says. They don't know what should be taught. They don't know anything about this. So this is why I'm doing this video. In this video, I'm just going to give you a summary. I'm not going to give you my ideas, what I think or what I don't. That will come in another video, but in this video I'm just going to try to round up all that is contained in the guidance so that you can just listen to this video and have an understanding of what the government says about this education. Okay, now in this video we'll also concentrate on the primary school. In the next video we'll talk about the secondary school, but for this one we'll just concentrate on primary schools. Okay, so the government says that the focus of the RSC, which is a relationship and sex education, is teaching building blocks of what relationships should look like. So they're trying to teach the children what a relationship is and what it should be. Okay, now the guidance talks about relationship education as well as sex education. So we'll talk about the relationship education first before we move to the sex education. Okay, now under relationship it talks about family relationships, friendships, which is friendships with their peers as well as with adults, and online relationships. The RSC states that children should be taught about taking turns, respecting themselves, respecting others, appropriate and inappropriate actions, safe and unsafe physical contact with adults as well. It also talks about online relationships, how they should act, what they should know about online data, and all that. The RSC states that the children should be taught on the different kinds of families that exist in the United Kingdom. Family structures are different in the UK, and they expect that the children should know this. So the children will be taught that other children who come from different family structures or from family structures that are different from theirs should also be respected. So if you have a family who has a different structure from yours, the kids from those families should also be respected. They should be taught that there should be no stigmatization of any kind to kids from those kinds of families as well. Now, the different family structures that he mentions is families or kids from families with same-sex marriages, single parents, maybe kids being taken care of their grandparents, kids taking care of foster parents, kids being taken care of by adoptive parents, and all that. All this will be taught to the children, and there should be respect for everyone, knowing that your family structure may be different from another person's family structure. Okay, so it also talks about how to cultivate traits like honesty, perseverance, treating people right, working hard towards long rewards, and all that. All this will be covered in the relationship and sex education in the UK. The RSC is an opportunity to teach kids on positive emotional well-being and positive mental well-being. So children are supposed to be taught how to recognize and report abuse, the different kinds of abuse, so they should be able to recognize emotional abuse, physical abuse, as well as sexual abuse, and you also teach them on ways to report this. Okay, by the end of the primary school, they expect that the children would have been taught what the family is, the different kinds of families, how family structures are different, and how they should respect people from different kinds of structures, even if this is different from theirs. You also talk about by the end of primary school, the children should know the different kinds of friendships, how friendships are important in terms of creating stability for them mentally and emotionally, how they should act towards one another, like treating each other right and all, how they should behave around peers as well as adults, appropriate and inappropriate ways to act. These are some of the things that will be taught in the RSC. Now, under the online relationships, it also talks about how people need to recognize, people being the kids now, how the kids need to recognize that people can be different on the internet. So when it comes to online relationships, they should know that people can act differently and pretend to be what they are not, that your data can be gathered from the internet and people can use this data in ways that you do not want. So these are the things that they'll be taught in primary school under relationships. He also mentions how they need to be safe, responding safely to adults, reporting abuse or reporting times or feelings when they feel unsafe to adults that take care of them. He also mentions how teachers can manage difficult questions from the pupils. So he recognizes that in a whole class setting, someone or a kid can ask questions that they think the whole class should not listen to. So he advises the teachers to use their discretion to know if this is the kind of question that should be answered in the class, or have a one-on-one session with the kid. Now, talking about the sex education, this is not compulsory for primary schools. While the relationship education is compulsory for primary schools, the sex education is not compulsory for primary schools. Now, it recognizes that some schools already have some form of teaching for sex education, and they will continue to do so even though this is not a requirement. But because it is not compulsory for primary schools, parents have the right to withdraw their children if they don't want them to attend the sex education. So if you are a parent and you don't feel comfortable with your child being taught sex education, probably because you don't know what will be taught or how it will be taught, you have the right to withdraw. However, there are processes that should be put in place for this to happen. Now, it is recommended for the schools to have a session with you to discuss how it's important for them to teach your child this, as not doing that will mean that your child may get information from other children and it may be distorted information. So you're going to be advised to either do this sex education yourself at home or have them do it for you. But it's up to you to decide if you want them to be taught or not. Them being your kids. If you have a kid who you don't want to have this class, you have the right to withdraw. He also stated that for primary schools who already teach some form of sex education that is not mandated by this regulation, they have to state it in their school policy. So if you have a kid or you want to find out if your kid's school does some form of sex education, you can check their policy to see if that is included. The RSA also mentions that schools should teach the sex education with materials having regard for the age of the children as well as the religious background of the children. It also mentions that other factors can be considered, such as the student's special needs, requirements, or disability. So these are the main points that are mentioned in the guidance. What you need to know is that the government thinks that teaching children about relationships, how they can act in relationships, the different kinds of relationships, the different kinds of families, and all that is important to their growth. And so this has been implemented in the different schools. But you also need to know that if you're not comfortable with the sex education and your kid is in primary school, you have the right to withdraw. This is not the same for secondary schools, as there are different rules for secondary school. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I'll talk about the secondary school, but we're keeping this video for primary schools, okay? So whatever it is, if you have a kid in primary school and you want to find out what it is, you can reach out to your school, you can check your school policy, find out what is in it, and find out what they have around this, okay? If it's something you're not comfortable about, you can have a conversation with them to withdraw your kid if that is what you want, okay? So that's it, guys. Thank you for watching. If you stayed till now, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, share this video with your friends and loved ones. If you have friends who have kids in the UK or who have kids going to school in primary school or secondary school in the UK, you can share this video with them. I also suggest that if you have kids in secondary school, you watch the next video where I'll be giving you a summary of the important parts or the main parts mentioned in the guidance for secondary school. Until the next video, guys, bye.